Hello and welcome to a new reading vlog. We are kicking off November. This week we are picking my TBR spinner wheel style. So basically I have put all of the books that are sitting on the top tier of my book cart onto this wheel. And I've decided to give it a spin, and whatever we land on for this week, that's the book we're going to be reading. If you watched my November TBR, you know there's a bit of a theme. This month we are trying to get as many books off of my TBR cart as possible. Most of these are books that I have already started throughout the year and are sitting on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads. Others are ones that were in my wrapped up TBRs that I meant to get to and just did not have the time to get to. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get as many books cleared off of my TBR cart as possible this month. We're also, at the time I filmed my TBR, I completely forgot that Clear Your Shit readathon is happening this month. That is a month, or actually 2-month long readathon, where basically the entire point of it is to read books that are on your physical TBR, which is good because for the most part, most of the books that I want to read this month are on my physical TBR. There are a couple of books that I have borrowed from the library and would really like to read at some point, but we're going to get to those in other weeks. I may or may not have a themed vlog planned that are going to feature a couple of those. In terms of which book we are going to start with, first I did roll the spinner wheel without you guys. On The Coward. So this will be the first book that I start with. This is one that I had started, part of the Unwrapped project. This is one that I had started 2 winters ago, I believe, and just didn't end up finishing it for the winter. I think at that point I was ready for some spring cozy reads and just didn't want to finish it. But this follows Kel, and he is a well-known legend. He is a hero. He's a big celebrity. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him. What they don't realize is what he's being praised for is kind of fake. He didn't actually do the things people think he did. And now it is 10 years later, and Kel is kind of trying to live off to the sidelines. He really doesn't want to be recognized or remembered or praised. And then suddenly it is time for him to go on another quest, and he is dead set on trying to escape and give in to his title that he truly is, the Coward, and it follows that story from there. I am really excited to read this. I was kind of waiting for it to be a little chillier for me to start this because this does take place in the winter. And it is still very, very warm in Massachusetts. The weather is, well, I mean, it has been kind of cold the last couple days. We did get a little snow on Monday. But right now it's like 80 degrees. It's warm. Massachusetts is not, can't really make up its mind as to what it wants to be right now. So I do have the audiobook for this on Spotify, but I also have the audio for Lord of the Rings on Spotify, and I do have to read that this month as well. So I would like to save those hours if I can, and read this as much physically as I can. So we'll see how far into this I do get, and I will check in with you when I have some thoughts. Okay, so it is day 3 of November, and I've gotten 160 pages into The Coward. Definitely not as far as in as I would like to be, because I do want to get a few books at least into this vlog, but I'm having a lot of fun with this. I don't think it's doing anything ginormously unique. It is an adventure story. So far, we're not just getting Kel's perspective, we are getting a couple perspectives trickled in, including one of a Reverend Mother who is dead set against Kel. She doesn't think there's anything supernatural going on. She is really set on showing people the ways of their version of God, and she doesn't want anything getting out about a potential supernatural or paranormal entity. So she's dead set on stopping him from completing any mission. And we also get a couple of perspectives on people, like from people that Kel meets heading up to his journey. So that is really interesting. This is a case where I feel like I don't mind having multiple perspectives. Obviously, I prefer Kel's in any case, but I'm having a good time reading from everybody's point of view and seeing little more than just Kel getting anxious about this journey. And Kel being anxious in general, I definitely feel like he's got anxiety, because we see him in a couple of different taverns basically saying that he gets nervous around crowds, so we already know he has anxiety. I do kind of wish that that went into a little bit further detail. Basically, we just keep hearing that he gets uncomfortable in crowds, so that's a little, like, we get it, he's uncomfortable in crowds. I just wish we got a little bit more of that expanded, but we really don't. At this point, it is starting to get a little bit repetitive. We go to a town, we go to a tavern, everyone wants to hear about Kel's story. We meet a person, move on, go to another tavern, more people want to hear about Kel's story, blah, 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 blah. It is starting to get a little bit repetitive 150 pages in, and we're still hearing the same things about Kel being anxious. And while we are getting teeny tiny bits of the story of 10 years ago, it really just seems to be repeating the same things over and over again, so that is definitely a downside. But there's also this interesting and really creepy air of suspense that we're getting, because there is a little bit of, not necessarily foreshadowing, but a little bit of, like I said, suspense, because we're wondering if this time he will actually defeat, or even if anything is up there, or if he'll ultimately be the one to die this time. Either way, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is really interesting, and right now we're still in like the setup stage. That's why I'm saying there feels like a lot of repetition, because we're still setting up, like we're on the journey, but we're kind of setting up for like the real journey. And I have a feeling that's going to be happening for another 100-ish pages before we actually get to the climax. So that's where we're sitting with that one. I think it's going to take something really drastic and page turning to happen for me to give this any higher rating than like a 4-star. I feel like right now it's sitting at a 4. I don't think that's gonna change, but it could go either way. I could bump it down to a 3 if things keep progressing the way that they are, or I could bump it up to like a 4.5. Definitely not a 5. I don't think anything, it's gonna take like a very, very, very interesting plot twist for me to bump this up to a 5. So I did also spin a wheel. Actually, I had Benson spin it for me, really just to see if I could get an audio book for this. What I was going to do was download the audiobook for The Coward, just so that I could like listen to this while I'm doing other things or while I'm not able to read it physically. But I can only find it on Spotify. And Spotify only gives you a select amount of hours to listen to every month, like while your pay period is going. And I only have 5 hours left for another, I think, 16 days until it renews. And I really would like to continue listening to The Lord of the Rings at some point this month. So I don't want to use all of those listening hours if I don't have to. So I'm going to keep listening to it gonna keep reading it physically. And then Benson spun the wheel for me. And we landed on The Magicians. I just started listening to this last night, and it's kind of reminding me of like the Mysterious Benedict Society. I think that's what it's called that I read a while back, and basically it's following Quentin, who's always been obsessed with this magical world called Fillory. And one day he basically gets like summoned to this place. He's not really sure what's going on, but he ends up taking this test. He's not sure exactly what he's testing for, but he tests and ends up getting into this kind of magical school for like real magicians and having to put his entire life on hold and push it aside to figure out what's going on with this whole magic thing. It's alright so far. I'm going to be very honest with you, depending on the direction it goes in. I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it or if I'm going to DNF it at some point. I ended up getting this in a blind date with a book, so I wasn't particularly interested in picking it up to begin with, but now that I have and it was in my self-destruct, unwrapped project, I'll give it a fair shot. If I get to, right now I think I'm like 10% in, if I get to like 30% and I'm not really caring about where the story is going, I might just end up DNFing and potentially in hauling. It would depend on if Benson actually wants to read it, because they're starting to get back into their reading game just a little bit. I don't think I have any plans today. That could change, but for the most part, my plans today are reading and maybe a little bit of cleaning and chilling and just having a comfy cozy day. I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna be a go with the flow kind of person today. What happens happens. So it is actually day 5 of this vlog. Not much is happening. Not much reading is getting done. Life be lifin'. But I did finally manage to finish a book. First of all, let's talk about The Magicians. I have since decided to DNF it. I was gonna read it all the way through and just continue on with it. But I was starting to realize that even though like I knew what was going on and I was actually paying attention, which sometimes I doze off during like audiobooks, I just didn't really care about where the story was going. This is technically the start of a trilogy. And my thinking is, if this is the start of a trilogy, then it really feels like a setup book. And I had to start asking myself the question, if this is a setup book, do I care about where it's going? Do I care about what it's setting up to? And the answer is no. I have heard that there are a lot of parallels to Chronicles of Narnia. And I have never read Narnia. I've only seen the first movie. Not that I don't care about that series. It's just, if that's the case, then there really isn't any even nostalgic factor for me to want to continue on with it. I don't know. So I ended up just DNFing it. That probably will end up on my Pango shop soon, because even Benson said that they didn't have any interest in it. So keep an eye out for that. So because I DNF'd The Magicians, I did spin the wheel again to pick an audiobook. And it landed on The Story of Silence. So I am going to be listening to this one kind of on the side, but the audiobook is really quiet. And I think it's meant to be like a calm, quiet kind of story, so I kind of get that. But my headphones aren't that loud to begin with, so I can't really hear the book, like if I'm out and about and on for a walk. So I will either pick this up physically or just read it or listen to it when I'm at home and just doing like crafty things. Otherwise, I did finish my physical read of The Coward, and I am giving it a 4-star. Nothing, like there were some really good twists, but nothing that was super, super, super groundbreaking that I didn't kind of already see coming. It was a lot of fun. That is really all I can say about it, that I haven't said already.
I think it was very long. It really shouldn't have been as long as it was. I think it was a really great, fun adventure story. I am both nervous and excited about the next book. I believe it's just a duology. So finishing off this series and seeing where it goes. The way that the first one ended, I don't know how the second book is going to set up. So there's definitely some intrigue there, but there's definitely a lot of nerves there because I don't want it to be a case where the second completely ruins it or the ending of the series completely ruins it, which has happened before. And then I did spin the wheel again to get a physical read, which I ended up landing on The Puzzle Master. So this is a Puzzle Master. It is a mystery that I think I started in September. And I think it was just like the audiobook that I wasn't really paying attention to. I could retry the audio and just read Story of Silence physically. So the thing with that is Story of Silence has really long chapters. And I typically don't do well with that if I'm reading it physically. Like I'll start like dozing off and not really paying attention. But yeah, we'll see. So far we've got 1 4-star, 1 DNF, and 2 books that I'm really, really excited about, and a partridge in a pear tree. But the currently reading is down 2 books, and hopefully it'll be down a little bit more by the end of this vlog. I do have a little bit of a fun idea for vlog 2. I just don't know when and if that's gonna work out. Either way, it's already close to midnight, so I think I'm gonna go downstairs because Benson's down there. So I think I might go downstairs and read for a little bit until I inevitably probably fall asleep on the couch and Benson's gonna have to wake me up. And then hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow. So it's Wednesday and it's been a very tough day, I think, for a lot of us. There have been no reading updates. I've really just been doom scrolling on TikTok all day since I got home from work, which I don't think I've ever been happier to have had to go into work today because it was a nice little reprieve away from all the chaos. But I did just want to address this on my channel. Normally I'm not one to talk into politics because I like the idea of everything being happy and peaceful, and I like feeling like I am in a beautiful, fun, just Disney fantasy world where there are no problems, and that's not what we're in. But normally I wouldn't make this, but I feel like there's somebody that needs to hear this, and I feel like I really need to say this. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be okay. I'm not going to tell you that we will get through these 4 years unscathed. I have no idea what's going to happen. None of us do. I won't tell you to be hopeful and be completely disingenuous with you when that's the exact opposite of how I'm feeling. I really didn't want to cry while making this. Really, I just wanted to include this clip in here because I don't care if you're a subscriber. I don't care if you regularly watch my channel. I don't care who you are. If you need a safe space to vent, if you need a safe space to hide, or if you just need somebody to cry with for a minute, you will always be welcome in my community, on my channel. I don't care if you like books. I don't care if you like to read. I don't care if you like my content. This is and always will be a safe, loving, calming space. Okay, I'm hoping that whatever I update with you with next will be a bit of a happier update. Just be safe. Hug your loved ones if you can. And again, if you don't feel like you have anybody, or if you don't have anybody, or even if you just want to add one more person to your circle, come talk to me. Hello. Okay. This vlog has been very, very uneventful. I did manage to get 3 books off of my currently reading. One of those, or 2 of those I actually finished. One of them was unfortunately a DNF, but still, progress is progress. Hi, baby. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, please keep filming. I'm gonna try to make a little less noise.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
But I did say 3, so that does mean I finished The Puzzle Master, and I think this was a solid 3-star. It was okay. It just, I wanted more of the puzzle aspect in here, and I don't think I got that, at least not puzzles that were satisfying to my brain.
Woo.
There was a lot of math and science involved.
No.
Which is normally, like, fine if that's your style of book. It just isn't my style of book. I like word puzzles, and I thought that was what we were going to get in this, but it really wasn't. I also don't remember if I told you what it was about.
Should probably tell him anyways.
If I didn't, which I probably didn't, because this week, life be lifin'. But this one follows Mike Brink, who in high school ended up having a football accident where something happened to his brain where basically everything he looks at, everything he sees, hears, thinks is basically turned into a puzzle. Like he hyper focuses on patterns. Like it's considered a gift, but we really see how it kind of messes up his life when it first starts happening, and it gets him dragged into this mysterious set of circumstances with this girl named Jess Price, who is in prison for murdering her boyfriend.
Whoa. Shit's crazy, dude.
Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Like I said, solid 3-star book. I don't think I'm ever going to reread it, so it most likely will end up on my Pango shop sooner rather than later. But I read it. I finished it. That's a goal that was accomplished. I did DNF The Magicians, and I did finish The Coward. So we got a 4-star, a 3-star, and a DNF. I haven't made any progress in Story of Silence. The audiobook for it is just so quiet, and my headphones by themselves are usually pretty quiet. So listening to this while I'm out and about, especially with how windy it's been, has been nearly impossible. And I really don't want to read this one physically because the chapters are so long, and that typically means it's going to take me longer to get through a book. So I'm going to try to make some time to read it before the month is over, but otherwise we're making some slow progress. Either way, I'm going to end this vlog here so we can get started on the next one, where you'll probably see Benson featured in a clip or 2 because I am going to force them to read Eloise at Christmas time with me.
Oh, shit. Uh-oh.
Actually, just Eloise in general. We have 2 more stories, and that one including Eloise at Christmas time. Are you excited?
Thrilled.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week through the good times and the bad. Hopefully next week will bring some more positive news. Either way, I love you and thank you so much for hanging out with me. Goodbye.